You ever notice how right before something good happens, everything starts falling apart? Like the moment you're about to catch a break, life decides to hit you harder than ever. The car breaks down. People start acting strange. Your mind gets noisy, and the world feels heavier than it should. You start thinking, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I was wrong. But that's the joke, isn't it? The closer you get to the finish line, the more the battlefield starts shaking. Because victory doesn't come wrapped in calm. It comes disguised as chaos. The funny thing about life is that it never warns you before it starts to shake. It just begins to twist, turn, and collapse, like a building on fire. And you're left standing there, wondering what you did wrong. But that's the thing, you didn't do anything wrong. You're just close. Too close. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the more chaos life throws at you. It's like the world can smell it, the scent of someone about to rise, and it panics. It sends distractions, storms, people, and pain. It's almost as if the whole universe starts playing a game to see how badly you really want what you've been waiting for. You start noticing how things that once worked suddenly fall apart. Doors that once opened easily now slam shut in your face. The phone stops ringing, people stop showing up, and silence becomes your only companion. It's not bad luck, it's a test of endurance. Because when you're on the edge of a win, that's when the noise gets loudest. Life will whisper, maybe this isn't worth it. It will dangle comfort right in front of your tired eyes, just to see if you'll give up a second before the victory. You ever notice how right before the dawn, the night feels the longest? That's what it's like before your breakthrough. It's pitch black, no signs of change, just endless waiting. You feel trapped in a loop, wondering if you've gone insane for believing in something invisible. You keep pushing, but the results mock you. You smile in public, but your mind screams when you're alone. And that's exactly when most people quit. Because chaos has a way of convincing you it's permanent when it's really the last barrier between you and everything you've been fighting for. But here's the truth no one tells you. Life doesn't attack what's not a threat. You don't see storms forming over empty seas. You only see them when something valuable lies beneath. The more pressure you feel, the more certain it is that something big is trying to come out of you. That chaos. It's a disguise. A camouflage. It's trying to make you believe you're cursed when in reality, you're chosen for something greater. The noise, the delays, the betrayals, they're part of the initiation. They're the toll you pay to cross from almost to arrived. People won't understand why you're still fighting when everything looks lost. They'll think you're being stubborn or delusional. But they don't hear what you hear. They don't feel what you feel. Because when you're that close, something inside you refuses to die. It's that silent knowing that says, just one more push. You can't explain it, you just know you're not done yet. And life knows it too. That's why it fights you harder. It's trying to break your spirit before you cross the finish line. When you start losing everything, don't panic. When people walk away, don't chase. When it feels like the walls are closing in, don't scream. That's not destruction. It's rebirth. Life isn't taking from you. It's stripping you clean. Removing everything that can't go with you, where you're headed. The chaos is the proof that the shift has already begun. You're not stuck. You're being shaken free. The pain isn't punishment. It's purification. Every setback is a spark building pressure behind the dam that's about to burst. You'll notice how things get quieter right before it happens. The storm stops roaring, time slows down, and there's a strange stillness in the air. That's the moment before it hits, the silence before the explosion, the test before the reward. You start realizing that chaos isn't random, it's calculated. It's life's way of asking, do you still believe? And only the ones who do, the ones who stay steady in the madness, get to see what's on the other side. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the heavier it gets. That's not a curse. That's how you know it's real. Because if it were easy, it wouldn't be worth it. And if it were meant for everyone, it wouldn't be meant for you. So when everything starts breaking down, when chaos comes crashing through your door, don't mistake it for an ending. It's the beginning hiding behind the mask of destruction. And the closer you are, the louder it will get. You ever notice how people think success just happens? Like it's some kind of lucky ticket, handed out to a few special ones while everyone else just watches. They look at winners and think, oh, they had it easy. But what they don't see is the blood, the nights without sleep, the tears behind the smile. They don't see how close those people were to giving up before something inside them refused to die. That's the part nobody talks about, the breaking point. The place where most people turn back, but the chosen ones, they crawl through it. You start chasing your dream, and at first, it feels exciting. You can almost see it. You're full of energy, hope, that wild fire burning inside your chest. But then the walls start closing in. Things don't go your way. The world starts laughing, whispering, "You really thought you could do this?" And suddenly, that excitement turns into doubt. That's when life begins its little game. It throws obstacles at you, not to stop you, but to measure you. It wants to see what you'll do when it takes away the applause, the support, the comfort. It wants to know who you are when no one's watching. You'll meet people who pretend to believe in you, but deep down, they're just waiting to see you fail. They smile in your face, but you can feel their envy from miles away. And the funny thing is, you'll still try to prove yourself to them. You'll still try to make them proud. But that's the trap. The moment you start living for validation, you've already handed over your power. Because the truth is, people don't clap for what they don't understand. They mock what intimidates them. And if you're dreaming big, you'll always make small minds uncomfortable. Then comes the silence, the days where no one checks on you, the moments when everything feels pointless. You'll wake up, stare at the ceiling, and think, What's the use? That's when most people quit. They trade their dream for security, their fire for comfort. But the ones who keep going, they understand something the rest never will. They know pain is part of the process. They know pressure is proof that something is forming. They know silence is where strength is born. When you stop needing the world to cheer for you, you start hearing your own roar. You'll start losing things. Opportunities will slip through your hands. People you trusted will betray you. Plans you made will fall apart in front of your eyes. You'll think life is being unfair, but what it's really doing is cutting the fat, removing everything that doesn't belong in your next chapter. The more you resist, the longer it hurts. But the moment you let go, something starts shifting. You begin to see that what's leaving was never meant to stay, and what's coming needs space to arrive. The hardest part is patience. Everyone wants the result, but no one wants the wait. You'll see others getting what you prayed for, and it'll sting. You'll wonder if you're forgotten, if maybe you missed your turn. But time isn't punishing you, it's preparing you. Because if you got what you wanted before you were ready, you'd lose it. Life is funny that way. It gives you pieces of your destiny, one pain, one failure, one lesson at a time. And before you know it, the puzzle starts to make sense. You'll also notice how quiet confidence feels different. You stop explaining yourself. You stop proving your worth. You just know. That calmness isn't arrogance, it's peace. You've been through enough storms to recognize your own strength. You don't need to shout when your silence speaks louder. That's when the shift happens. That's when things start aligning in ways you can't explain. Doors open without knocking. People appear without calling, and blessings come without warning. And right there, in the middle of it all, you'll realize something. Everything that broke you was building you. Every no was protection. Every loss was redirection. Every lonely night was refinement. You were never being buried. You were being planted. Growth doesn't happen in sunlight. It happens in darkness, in the soil, under pressure. You had to be hidden before you could bloom. You had to be emptied before you could overflow. The process is cruel, but it's honest. It strips away every illusion until all that's left is you, the real you. The one who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't fear. The one who stands even when trembling. And that version of you, that's the one who wins. Because life doesn't reward the loud, it rewards the relentless. The ones who don't stop, who don't fold, who keep moving even when their legs shake. They don't talk about the journey because they lived it. And when the moment finally comes, when the world finally sees what you were fighting for, it won't even feel like victory. It'll feel like justice. You know what's funny? People love to say, everything happens for a reason. But when life starts falling apart, when it really starts to sting, they panic. They curse, they question, they break. Because deep down, they don't want a reason. They want control. They want to know what's coming next. They want to know why the people they trusted turned into strangers. Why the plans they built turned into ashes. But the truth is, control is the biggest illusion of all. You were never supposed to have it. You were supposed to learn how to move through the chaos without losing your mind. Every storm that hit you wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to wake you up, to shake you out of your comfort zone. But you fought it, didn't you? You resisted, thinking life was being cruel. You tried to hold on to what was already gone, tried to keep alive what was already dead. That's why it hurt so much. Not because you lost something, but because you refused to let go. You see, life only takes away what can't come with you to your next level. Yet you keep begging to go backward, begging for what you've outgrown, as if comfort was ever your destination. It's strange how people want blessings, but hate the breaking that brings them. They want transformation without the tearing, strength without the struggle, light without the fire. But that's not how it works. You can't become gold without being melted first. You can't be trusted with greatness if you still crumble under pressure. You ask for purpose, but purpose demands pain. It demands isolation, humiliation, and the kind of silence that makes you question your worth. And if you can survive that, you'll start to understand why things had to happen the way they did. There comes a moment when you stop fighting the process, when you realize that maybe the things falling apart aren't the problem. Maybe it's you trying to hold them together. That is, maybe those betrayals were blessings. Maybe those endings were instructions. Maybe those delays weren't denials, just divine protection in disguise. You start to see that every disappointment was really a redirection. You start noticing how the puzzle pieces only make sense when you stop trying to force them. And that's when it hits you. None of it was random. The pain was part of the plan. People will tell you to trust the process, but they never tell you how hard that really is. To trust when everything looks like failure, when your prayers echo back with silence, when nothing adds up. It's easy to have faith when things are going your way, but when everything goes dark, that's when you find out what you really believe in. That's when you learn what trust truly feels like. Not a feeling of control, but surrender. To say, I don't understand this, but I'll keep walking anyway. That's power. That's faith disguised as madness. You'll realize that pain has a purpose. It cleanses. It strips away your ego, your expectations, your illusions. It humbles you in ways success never could. It teaches you that not everyone you lose is a loss. Not every rejection is personal, and not every delay is a curse. Pain will show you who's real. When the lights go out, the pretenders disappear, and only the genuine ones remain. And most of the time, you'll look around and realize there's no one left but you. That's not loneliness. It's purification. Life had to empty the room so you could hear your own voice again. You'll start to feel a shift inside. The things that used to scare you will stop mattering. The opinions, the gossip, the noise, it all fades. You'll stop chasing validation and start chasing truth. You'll start valuing peace more than attention. That's when you'll notice how powerful you've become. Not because the world finally sees your worth, but because you stopped needing it to. You'll understand that real strength is quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It just stands. And maybe that's what all this chaos was about. Maybe life wasn't trying to break you. It was trying to rebuild you. It took away what you thought you needed so it could give you what you actually do. It stripped you down to your core so you could see who you really are beneath the noise, beneath the masks, beneath the fake smiles. And once you see that version of yourself, once you meet that raw, unfiltered truth, you'll never go back, because that's when you finally realize you were never losing. You were learning how to win differently. Everything that went wrong was a message. Every sleepless night was a whisper from something higher saying, "Wait, not yet." Every door that closed was protection from something you couldn't see. Every delay was redirection towards something better. And once you understand that, once you stop fighting what's happening and start flowing with it, the whole game changes. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Try me." Because you realize what's meant for you doesn't require chasing. It requires becoming. And once you become it, the universe has no choice but to deliver it. It's strange, isn't it? How right before the light breaks through, the world gets darker than ever. Like something is fighting to keep you from seeing what's next. You start feeling it, the weight, the confusion, the endless whispers in your head telling you to stop, to give up, to let go. But that's how darkness works. It doesn't show up to destroy you. It shows up to distract you. Because it knows, once you push through that final layer, once you step through that last door, everything changes. And darkness hates change. It hates losing control over the ones who finally wake up. You think all those setbacks were just coincidences. All those betrayals, those sudden failures, those people who turned their backs right when you needed them most. That's not random. That's resistance. The closer you get to the version of yourself you're meant to be, the more the world around you starts to shake. Because you're stepping out of alignment with the weak and stepping into alignment with power. And power isn't quiet. It doesn't blend in. It stands out, and standing out attracts attack. That's the unwritten rule of transformation. The pain you're feeling right now, it's not a punishment. It's proof. Proof that something inside you refuses to die quietly. Proof that there's something bigger waiting beyond this chaos. But it's not going to hand itself to you. You've got to survive the noise long enough to see what it's been protecting. The moments that feel unbearable. Those are the exact moments shaping you into someone unshakable. You're not being broken, you're being rebuilt. But the process feels the same. You ever notice how people disappear when you start taking yourself seriously? When you stop being the version of yourself that serves them? They call you distant, cold, selfish. But the truth is, they just can't reach you anymore. You're not on their frequency. You're not entertaining the same games. You're not chasing the same meaningless validation. And that's when the isolation begins. It's not loneliness. It's elevation in disguise. The higher you climb, the thinner the air gets. The fewer people can breathe where you're headed, so they fall away. And you keep walking. But the path gets quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that makes you question if you're still moving forward or just standing still. That's where most people break. In the silence. They can handle noise, pain, even chaos, but silence. Silence makes them confront themselves. And not everyone is ready for that. Because in silence, there's no one left to blame. No distractions to hide behind. It's just you, your thoughts, and the truth. And the truth can burn more than any wound ever could. But if you can face it, if you can sit in it without running away, that's where the shift happens. You'll start to see patterns. The same lessons showing up in different faces, different situations. And you'll realize it was never about them. It was always about you. How you respond. How you grow. How long you keep pretending not to know your worth. Because life keeps repeating what you refuse to learn. The test doesn't end until you pass it. So every heartbreak, every rejection, every failure, it's not there to hurt you. It's there to remind you what you've outgrown. When the darkness feels unbearable, that's how you know you're close. It's the final battle before the breakthrough. The storm always rages hardest before it breaks. It's not because you're cursed. It's because you're chosen. Because not everyone can handle what's on the other side of endurance. Not everyone can keep believing when the evidence is gone. But if you refuse to let go when it makes no sense to hold on, that's when the impossible starts bending in your favor. Every great transformation begins with chaos. The caterpillar doesn't grow wings in comfort. It dissolves inside a cocoon. It becomes nothing before it becomes everything. That's what's happening to you. The life you knew is crumbling because the life you're meant for can't fit in the same frame. The pain is just the proof that you're evolving. And though it feels like death, it's actually the birth of something greater. The darkness is only doing its job, making sure you're ready for the light you've been asking for. You're not losing your mind. You're shedding everything that doesn't belong to your future. You're not being abandoned. You're being positioned. The world might look like it's against you right now, but that's because it recognizes your shift before you do. The energy around you starts to change before your eyes can see it. The old you is collapsing, and the new you is rising, quietly, patiently, behind the pain. That's why it hurts. That's why it's heavy. Because rebirth never comes gently. It comes with fire, noise, and endings that look like destruction but are really deliverance. So when it feels like you're surrounded by darkness, don't panic. It's not the end. It's the in-between, the breaking before the blooming, the silence before the sound. Because that's the way it's always been. Right before the light arrives, the shadows stretch the longest. You ever notice how life has this way of turning your pain into a stage? The same people who laughed at your struggle, who doubted your worth, Who whispered about your failures behind closed doors? They end up being the audience when it's time for your rise. That's how the world works. It loves to watch you fall, but it can't look away when you stand back up. There's something magnetic about resilience, something unsettling about someone who refuses to stay broken. And that's exactly what makes the victory so loud, even when you say nothing at all. You see, what struggle builds a different kind of strength. Not the kind you can show off, but the kind that radiates without words. It's in your eyes, your tone, your silence. The strength of someone who's been through fire doesn't scream. It hums, steady and dangerous. The world recognizes it even before you do. And that's why your stage of pain was never just about suffering. It was preparation for recognition. You had to be seen breaking before you could be seen built. Because the story doesn't move people if they never saw the fall. They'll act surprised when it happens, your rise. They'll say you changed, as if the version of you that bowed your head in silence was meant to stay there forever. But you didn't change. You just stopped apologizing for surviving. You stopped dimming yourself to make others comfortable. You stopped explaining why you're still standing after everything that should have destroyed you. And the truth is, your survival alone is already your victory. The public reward isn't about money or fame or applause. It's the moment when your existence becomes undeniable proof that pain can be power. The world doesn't celebrate the quiet moments when you're fighting demons no one sees. It doesn't clap for the nights you spend praying, bleeding, rebuilding piece by piece. But the moment the results show up, suddenly everyone wants to know your secret. They want the glory, not the grind. They want the destination without the detour. But what they don't understand is that every tear, every betrayal, every heartbreak was a seed. You just kept watering it in silence, and now the garden's about to bloom. Not privately, but publicly. There's a reason your wins take time. Quick success doesn't last because it wasn't rooted in pain. Pain gives depth. Pain gives gratitude. Pain gives perspective. Without it, victory feels empty. That's why your breakthrough had to be delayed. Because if you had received it too early, you would have shared it with the wrong people. You would have invited snakes to the celebration, and they would have poisoned your joy. So instead, life hid your reward until your circle shrank, until your heart was clean enough to carry it, until you could stand on your stage without craving approval. You ever notice how quiet it gets before everything changes? That eerie stillness right before your whole world flips. That's the moment where it all comes together. When the seeds of your struggle start breaking through the soil, it's not dramatic, it's divine. And it's coming. The very pain that tried to bury you is about to bloom into something undeniable. And the best part, everyone who thought you were finished is going to see it happen in real time. That's not revenge. That's revelation. Because the truth doesn't need to scream. It just shows up and speaks for itself. The thing about being rewarded publicly is that it's not for the crowd. It's for the message. It's not about validation. It's about confirmation. Life uses you as evidence. That endurance pays off. That silence isn't weakness. That the ones who keep faith when everything collapses are the ones who rise